When the Greeks finally broke through completely, they found Mardonius's personal tent still standing, filled with gold, luxury, all the spoils of conquest. It was such a stark contrast to the simple Spartan cloak that Leonidas died wearing. With nothing but his spear, the Persians believed victory came from wealth and overwhelming numbers. Now they lay crushed by men who marched with no riches, only memory, wrath, and discipline. As Greek banners rose above that camp, one truth echoed across the ancient world. At Plataea, Greece didn't just win a battle. They ended Persia's dream of conquering the West. The invasion that began in glory ended in ashes. When the smoke cleared, the battlefield told a story that would echo for centuries. The mightiest empire on earth had been brought to its knees, not by superior numbers or gold, but by something Persia never understood: Greek unity and Spartan resolve. The Greeks gathered their dead with honor. The Persians were left scattered, nameless, in the mud. This war wasn't just won, it was ended. Persia's dream of conquering Greece died at Plataea. King Xerxes, sitting comfortably back in his palace, received news of utter, complete defeat. His generals were slain. His elite warriors were gone. His empire had been humiliated by what he considered mere warriors from small cities. Greece, once divided by petty rivalries and pride, had become the shield of freedom, and leading that shield from Thermopylae all the way to Plataea was the Spartan legacy. Sparta didn't celebrate with festivals or grand monuments. They sent a simple message, carved in stone. Here the Greeks fought the Persians and broke their power. No boasts, no grand speeches, just fact. For the rest of the world, Plataea was more than a battle. It was a warning written in blood and iron. Even the greatest empire can fall when it underestimates those who fight for their home. Persia had power. Persia had riches. But Sparta had something Persia couldn't buy: an unbreakable will to say, this far, no further. From that day forward, the Persian Empire never dared invade Greece again. The tides of history shifted, and the name Sparta became not just a city, but a legend of defiance. The Greeks didn't just win a war, they forged a legacy that's still alive today, living in every story of resistance, every stand against overwhelming odds. This wasn't just a battle of swords, it was a battle of spirit. And if you want to uncover more hidden battles, forgotten tactics, and untold truths from ancient warfare, make sure you subscribe, because the next story will take you even deeper into the wars that shaped our world. What happened next was honestly kind of genius in a terrifying way. The Romans, being the pragmatic military masterminds they were, immediately started a meticulous breeding program that would make modern dog breeders look like amateurs. They took these massive Molossian hounds and crossed them with native Italian mastiffs. But this wasn't random breeding. This was selective breeding with very specific warrior traits in mind. They wanted bone-crushing jaws that could snap through armor straps and tear into flesh. They wanted immense strength that could knock a grown man off his feet. And perhaps most importantly, they wanted nerves of absolute steel. Dogs that wouldn't flinch when swords clashed around them. Dogs that wouldn't run when arrows flew overhead. Dogs that would charge straight into hell itself if their handler gave the command. Within just one generation, the Romans had created something truly unprecedented: the Canis Pugnax, which literally translates to combative dog. These males could easily top 100 pounds of pure muscle, and despite their massive size, they could sprint like wolves across the battlefield. Just imagine that for a second: 100-pound muscle-bound beast charging at you at full speed with the agility of a predator half its size. That image alone was enough to break enemy formations before the fighting even started. But here's what really sets this story apart from just being about big scary dogs. The Romans didn't just breed these animals for physical size and stop there. They needed a specific, ruthless temperament. And they tracked breeding lines with the same obsessive attention to detail they used for tracking their weapons inventory. Legion officers literally monitored litters with the same care they'd give to counting javelins and swords. Every single pup born on state land was immediately marked as army property. This wasn't just bureaucratic ownership. This was a declaration of purpose from birth. These dogs were transformed from creatures of instinct into dedicated military assets from the moment they entered the world, and they were destined for either the arena or the front lines. There was no middle ground for a Canis Pugnax. Now let's talk about training, because this is where things get absolutely intense. Forget everything you know about puppy socialization and cute training treats. These pups met military drills at just 8 weeks old. This wasn't about companionship or creating loving pets. This was about functionality and absolute, unquestioning obedience in the most chaotic conditions imaginable. These dog recruits learned a complex system of whistle signals that communicated commands for advance, hold, and release. And they had to understand and execute these commands instantly, even in the deafening chaos of battle with thousands of men screaming and metal clanging all around them. The discipline was strict, with success and failure shaping every aspect of their training regime. By the time these dogs hit 6 months old, they weren't just big puppies anymore. They were conditioned athletes. They could heel beside a marching column for 20 miles without breaking pace, their ears attuned to every subtle changing cadence from the soldiers around them. Their endurance literally mirrored that of the legionaries themselves, but physical conditioning was only part of the equation. The socialization and scent training these dogs underwent was absolutely crucial to their effectiveness in combat. These war dogs lived right in the tent lines with the soldiers, sleeping beside them every single night. This wasn't just for bonding. It served a very specific tactical purpose. The dogs learned to distinguish Roman leather from Gallic wool by scent alone. Think about how important that is for a second. On a chaotic battlefield where everyone's covered in blood and dirt, where the fog of war makes visual identification nearly impossible, these dogs could identify friend from foe purely by smell. This scent-based recognition was absolutely crucial for preventing friendly fire incidents and allowed the dogs to be deployed with confidence that they'd target the right people. Combat training involved the dogs ripping into dummies stuffed with boar hide, and efficiency was prized above all else. The dogs that proved less capable in these brutal assessments weren't killed or discarded. They were assigned to guard duties rather than frontline combat roles, because even a less aggressive war dog was still more effective than a human sentry in many situations. Let's talk about the gear these dogs wore into battle. Because yes, they actually had military equipment, and it was both practical and absolutely terrifying. The spiked collars you might have heard about? Totally real and devastatingly effective. These weren't decorative. They were leather straps studded with bronze spikes as sharp as a stylus point, designed to inflict maximum damage while simultaneously protecting the dog's vulnerable throat. Some handlers added extra protection in the form of lightweight mail across the dog's chest, typically about 40 bronze plates laced together with rawhide. This armor served a dual purpose. It provided actual protection from slashing weapons, and it amplified the dog's already intimidating presence, making these beasts appear even more formidable and otherworldly on the battlefield. The full kit weighed about as much as a toddler. But here's what's incredible. Modern reenactment tests have shown that a fit war dog could maintain about 70% of its normal speed, even with this extra weight. That's some seriously impressive engineering when you think about it. Now we get to the absolute heart of this story. How these dogs were actually deployed in combat. And trust me, this is where things get truly wild. Picture this. It's 197 BCE in northern Italy, and Roman forces are facing Ligurian hillmen who formed a tight phalanx on a narrow mountain road. The Roman cavalry can't flank them because of the terrain, and a direct infantry assault would take hours and cost countless lives. So what do the Romans do? They unleash 20 Canis Pugnax dogs 50 yards ahead of their first cavalry unit. These dogs slam into the enemy shield line like hairy cannonballs. That's not my dramatic interpretation. Ancient sources literally describe the impact in similar terms. The sheer force of these charging beasts disrupts the entire enemy formation. It's a calculated shock tactic designed to sow chaos and break enemy resolve. And it works spectacularly. The horses following behind the dogs rear up from pure equine panic at the predator's scent. And while ancient records rarely give specific casualty numbers, they explicitly note that formations were broken, which allowed the Roman cavalry and infantry to strike with devastating effectiveness. This same brutal tactic worked in Aquitania against Gallic cavalry, where the dogs were trained to specifically aim for horses' soft noses. One well-placed bite was enough to scatter an entire cavalry charge before the riders could even level their spears. In Sardinia during 231 BCE, Consul Marcus Pomponius Matho used scented dogs to hunt down guerrilla forces hiding in caves and forests, tasks that human soldiers struggled with desperately. The dogs weren't just fighters. They were force multipliers that turned stalemates into absolute routes and made seemingly impossible terrain navigable for Roman military objectives. But wait, because sometimes apparently regular terror wasn't enough for the Romans, they had to take it up another notch. Some dogs were trained to carry small clay pots of blazing oil into battle. A handler would light the wick, send the dog charging, and when the pot shattered on impact, it splashed burning oil across shields, uniforms, and bare legs. Ancient sources called this the stink that routs men, a testament to the combined horror of fire, chaos, and burning flesh. Now, to be fair, accounts of these fire dogs exist only in scattered references, and they were likely exceptional rather than routine. But the fact that it happened at all shows just how far the Romans were willing to push the envelope when it came to psychological warfare. Between battles, these dogs pulled night watch duty, with one dog per century patrolling the tent lines every hour with senses far keener than any human sentry could hope to match. If an intruder approached, they'd first hear a low, guttural growl, a warning. If that warning was ignored, the dog would go straight for the femoral artery. This wasn't random aggression. It was a trained, precise graduated response that ensured camp security while minimizing unnecessary violence. On long deployments, these dogs also doubled as hunting hounds, bringing down boar and other game that supplemented the army's grain rations, contributing directly to the legion's sustenance in the field. Here's something that actually surprised me when researching this. Fighting veterans weren't just discarded when their combat days were over. Retired war dogs were sent to farms outside Rome, and some were even given special recognition. Archaeological evidence shows grave markers depicting old mastiffs reclining beside a gladius sword, poignant symbols of parallel service between man and beast. This reflects a deep, if pragmatic, respect that Romans held for these creatures. Even animals, if they served the state well enough, earned a place in Roman history, which is a pretty unique aspect of their society when you think about it. So next time you see a mastiff in the park with that imposing build and those watchful eyes, Take a moment to picture that same dog 2 millennia earlier, muscles corded under bronze armor, eyes locked on an enemy shield wall, paws drumming against ancient earth as it charges forward as the first chord of Rome's victory roar. Before the Roman Empire ruled the known world, it had to rule chaos itself. And for that monumental task, the Romans built a weapon that panted, prowled, and when given the word, simply shattered everything in its path. These weren't just dogs. They were living instruments of conquest, and their legacy echoes through every mastiff breed we see today. If you learned something from this absolutely wild piece of history, smash that like button, drop a comment telling me which ancient topic I should cover next, and subscribe for more history that truly bites.